Hello, my name is Alex Burr, and this is the Running Hook podcast. Just wanted to let you know a couple of things real quick before we started. I just wanted to let you know we cut this episode in half because it seemed logical to cut it in half, so expect part 2 Monday next week. And then also, I did not have my microphone plugged in for the first 2 or so minutes of the podcast. So if it sounds weird at the beginning, that is why. Thank you for listening. Hello, and welcome to the Running Hook Podcast, hosted by Alex Burr, a member of the Running Hook Podcast Network. Hello, and welcome back to the Running Hook Podcast. Today, I decided to rank the teams that are going into the NBA bubble. We're going to be doing some of the bad teams competing for the 8th seed first, and then we're going to rank the teams that have the best chance to win the championship of the top 13 seeds in the East and West. But joining me today, I have host of the Circle City chat room on this very network, Zach Griffith. Zach, welcome.
Thanks for having me back.
And I have second-time returning guest, a good friend, biggest LeBron fan I know, and has something to say about Milwaukee today, but we'll get to them when we get to them, is Will Hogsett. Will, how we doing?
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
So, like I said, we're going to be ranking the teams that are in the bubble. But I figured before we started with that, because there are some teams in the bubble I think the three of us agree probably shouldn't have gotten in. And I mean, one of the teams probably deserved to get in, but then their best player got hurt, apparently, and they did a stealth surgery during the little hiatus that we had. So we'll go ahead and start with Washington. And Zach, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to clear out. We'll just go to the other corner. I'll be at the top of the key if he needs a bailout. Zach, you have something to say about Washington.
What the fuck are the Wizards doing in Orlando? What are they doing there? 4 games. They're only 4 games better than the Knicks. Only 4 games. That's it. If you're not at least 10 games better than the Knicks, you don't belong in this little playoff thing we have going. I'm just a very poorly run organization for years. They're finally starting to turn it around since they fired Ernie. Not a big believer in Scott Brooks. I like Bradley Beal, but he's by himself. I mean, the points aren't coming from anywhere else. That's all I got to say on the Wiz. I mean, they don't deserve to be there.
And I should point out that Davis Bertans, who's going to be an unrestricted free agent after this season, he decided to not play in the bubble, and he is like been one of the 10 best shooters in the league this season. And I thought
big for them.
They just have no chance. They have no chance. Mm-hmm. None. Will, real quick, thoughts on the Wizards?
I thought Zach might have took it a bit personal there, especially bringing in the Knicks.
What are you talking about?
Just from a unbiased standpoint, I think it's a failed attempt of the NBA to show love to the Eastern Conference. You know, the Eastern Conference has just been terrible, and they saw how close the West was, and they're like, well, we got to give some team in the East a chance. And unfortunately, the Wizards were in that position. Will John Wall ever come back? I don't know. But will he ever play for the Wizards again? You like to think so, but will he ever be the same? I don't know. It's another Paul George thing. How's it going to be? He's been off for a couple years. So personally, the Wizards might be going uphill, but I'd have to agree with Zach. At least for this year, there's absolutely no chance. It's an embarrassment that they're even a part of it.
I don't think they're going to have a choice but to keep John Wall, Will, because that contract is just a fucking disaster.
Yeah. Well, fully ran, there's no doubt about that.
And the Wizards, I should note, are 24-40. And as Zach pointed out, the Knicks are 21-45. What are we doing here? That's just my question.
Just get them out.
That's all. And I mean, so I'm just looking at their standings. I'm looking at the standings right now, right? The Wizards are 8-24 on the road. What makes you think they're going to win on an empty arena? There's no chance. Now, we're going to talk about Brooklyn And Brooklyn's obviously falling apart at the seams. But without Davis Bertans, there's really no way Washington can catch up. There are 6 games. They are 6 games exactly behind the Nets. I don't think they can go. Do you guys trust the Wizards to go 6-2?
No. Maybe the other way around.
In Orlando.
I go 2-6.
I'd be surprised if they went 2-6.
But where are the points coming from besides Beal? I don't know. Thomas Bryant?
Ish Smith?
Yeah, Ish Smith? Hachimura? I mean, where are they coming from? I don't know. See what Gilbert Arenas is up to. Bring him back. I don't know where these points are coming from.
I don't think we need to waste any more breath on the Wizards. So I'm going to just go ahead and transition to our next team, which is also missing a key piece and also is significantly better than the Wizards in the Phoenix Suns. They're missing Kelly Oubre. He decided to opt out of the bubble as well. So, guys, any chance the Suns win a game in this bubble? I'll start with Will.
No. They might have a chance to win an off game, maybe at the end when a team doesn't have a chance. But the thing with the West is so many other teams are fighting for the playoff position that every time they go against the Suns, they're going to know that, all right, this is a game that they're going to have to pick up. And especially without Oubre, I just don't see it happening.
Zach, you want to talk about a bad organization?
Oh, God.
Phoenix Suns.
Oh, God. Avi Sarver, man. There's only one guy worse than him, and we all know who that is. But speaking of Kelly Oubre, former Wizard, traded by the Wizards for Trevor Ariza. Like half a season of Trevor Ariza. Terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe if Devin Booker has like some Herculean effort with like a 45, 50 point game, they can get a game. But other than that, man, I don't see them. I'd have to look at their schedule and see who they're playing, but I don't see it. Maybe one game. Maybe they win one game.
There's just no way. Unless they're playing like San Antonio 8 times, if that's their schedule. And actually, I'll just use that to go ahead and transition to the next team. I think has no chance because the guy that they're missing is even better than the 2 guys we mentioned before in LaMarcus Aldridge. That's San Antonio. So just go ahead and start with Will again. Any thoughts on San Antonio, or do we just want to move on?
I didn't think they had much of a chance. I mean, definitely with LaMarcus, they'd have one, and obviously with Pop coaching, they always have a decent amount. But they're another team that, like the Wizards in a sense, are just too far out of it already. I think. I mean, they're struggling. So, personally, the LaMarcus Aldridge losing them final dagger in the heart for San Antonio, but I didn't think that before they had much going for them anyway. So,
no. They're the same boat as the Wizards. I mean, they're a little better off, but same boat in terms of where are the points coming from besides DeRozan. I don't know. I really don't know.
Jakob Poeltl.
Yeah, I don't think so. I'm gonna have to say no on that one. I had him ranked 19th.
You don't think
Rudy Gay? No, I don't think so. I think Rudy Gay's lost a step. But I had the Spurs 19th on my list. Only because of Popovich. I had the Nets, Wizards, and Suns behind them. So, and I was impressed with what they did in the playoffs last year. I know they had Aldridge, but I don't know. Pop's still there. DeRozan's a little iffy in the playoffs, but I still had him ahead of those 3 teams, whatever that says.
Yeah, I, for one, am not giving... I think that's fair. And we'll talk about Brooklyn because Brooklyn's going to fall basically ass backwards into the 8th seed. They could try, but they have to just be a little bit better than Washington, which I think Karis LeVert and the gang might be able to pull that off. But just San Antonio, you got to love. They'll definitely try their hardest, but trying your hardest isn't that great when Marco Bellinelli is still playing for your team in the year 2020. That's all I really have to say.
Hey. Put some respect on the Italian's name. Put some respect on it.
Oh, that's the only reason you care. If I just shat on like DeJounte Murray, he wouldn't have said anything.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
But so we're gonna move to the Eastern Conference, and currently in the 8th seed is the Orlando Magic. Nets sitting pretty at 30 and 35. So I'll start with Zach this time. Do you think that what % chance, or do you think that the Orlando Magic will stay in the 8th seed?
No, I think they'll move up to the 7th seed because the Nets are just taking too many hits. We talked in our little group message today about Kyrie. Not a lot of good things were said about Kyrie. I mean, the guy thinks he's a first option. He's actually a second option, which there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that, Kyrie. I don't know why you're so dead set on being the guy. You won a championship as the second guy, so I don't know why you wouldn't try and do that again. But the Nets, like you said, a lot of guys dropping out with them. Yeah. I mean, I don't know who their second best guy is. I really don't. Probably LeVert. Probably Karis LeVert. Dinwiddie. But I don't see
Jared
it.
Allen.
Jared Allen. They fired their coach. They can say he resigned, but they fired him. They fired his ass. And he was a good coach. They did fine in the playoffs last year for a 6th seed or whatever they were. So, yeah. That's my take on the Nets.
Yeah, I think you're going to see the Magic probably move up, like you said, and then set up just an absolute nightmare of a matchup against Milwaukee for the Nets. That's just going to be a tough series to watch.
Blitzkrieg.
Tough one to watch. So,
absolute blitzkrieg.
But
I feel like that series is destined. Sorry to cut you off, Will. I feel like that series is destined for NBA TV, all 6 games.
Fuck, am I trying to put it on ESPNU? I mean, I'm just trying to put it on there. So bad.
Sorry that I cut you off, Will. What were you saying there?
I mean, there's not much more to say, Alex. There's not much more to say, unfortunately. They're dropping like flies. DeAndre Jordan, don't know how much of an impact, honestly, he could have made anyway, but that obviously didn't help. I'm going to say going to be a massacre. Nightmare on Elm Street for that 1 versus 8. So,
I mean, hell, put it on Comedy Central.
Yeah, damn near at this point.
It's going to be so bad.
They're gonna put it on that country. They're gonna put it on a, what is that, CMT?
Throw it on something. No one's gonna want to watch it anyway.
Country music television.
Throw it on. There's just no way. And let's give Orlando. I'll give Orlando a little bit of love here. Orlando doesn't suck. Now are they good? No, but. They're definitely, like, of all the teams that we've mentioned so far, they're by far the best. Where do you have Orlando? I'm curious, Zach, on your rankings.
18.
That's about right.
They were... Yeah, I had him 18.
I feel like this would have been better if we just replaced Orlando and Brooklyn with Memphis and New Orleans and just stuck those as the bottom 2, or not Memphis, Portland and New Orleans, and just stuck those as the bottom 2 seeds in the East. I think everyone would be way happier that way. You get Zion and Dame in the playoffs. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I think they should have just done 16 teams and just called it a day.
Yeah, I think that's an opportunity this year to do something different, like switch up something completely, try something that never, that was just random. But unfortunately, I think, like we kind of touched on before, they missed out and trying to give both conferences a fair share, which they obviously don't deserve because the Western Conference is just so much better. You have this embarrassment of, okay, are the Wizards going to make it in the playoffs? And so, like you said, like this was just an opportunity for them maybe to like test out, try some new waters, bring some excitement. Like, okay, we got a couple teams switching over, but instead they kind of fell flat to an extent. And I mean, I hate saying that because, the chase for 8 in the Western Conference is going to be fun to watch and exciting to kind of follow along with, but still maybe putting those teams into a 16 team bracket, that could have been, a better, final. So
It's telling that two of the 16 playoff teams are ranked below 16 in Zach's rankings.
Yeah,
I think that's
Magic
pretty telling.
They were the lowest playoff team, like for sure playoff team.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think we're all getting a little depressed talking about these terrible Eastern Conference teams. Let's go ahead and move on to the fun teams. And I'm going to start with the Sacramento Kings. I'll just go ahead and start with Zach. Zach, where did you have them ranked on your list?
I had the Kings one spot ahead of the Magic at 17. I like the Kings. I don't understand hiring Luke Walton, a clearly inferior coach to who they had, Dave Yeager. I don't get it at all. I want nothing more than to see the Sacramento Kings in the playoffs because we haven't seen it since 2006. And it's kind of sad because they have great fans, great fan base, great arena. I just want to see them back in the playoffs. I love the little core they have. I know Caleb Lynn, not a big fan of Buddy Hield, but
Hates him.
He fucking hates him. I still don't know why.
Personal.
But Buddy Hield and De'Aaron Fox, that's a nice little backcourt, especially De'Aaron Fox. I think he's going to be big time. So
Yeah.
I like Marvin Bagley. I'm not sure what position he plays, but I like him. And
I think I'd have them one spot higher than you. I think I didn't do rankings, but I did percent chances. I got them higher than the Trailblazers, just because I think with that core and again, Trailblazers have Damian Lillard, and that man, could do anything, especially in an 8-game stretch. But as like team wise, I think they could benefit probably the most off this like kind of little hiatus and then getting back to it, just because most of them are so young and so kind of fresh to the game that maybe they're able to kind of get together better than most teams, especially through that 8-game play-in, and maybe they can make a run. And so that's probably why I have them higher than the Blazers. But I think it really comes down to the Pelicans and Grizzlies at this point, though. As much as I'd like to see Sacramento make a run, Portland try to make a run, I don't know. At least for the Kings' concern, I think I'd rank them this right below the Pelicans and Grizzlies for the chance to get that 8th spot in the Western Conference.
Yeah, I think that's about right. I gave them about a 5% chance of making the 8th seed. I really want to see it happen, but they have to jump like 4 teams to get to the 8th seed. And it's like, at that point,
It's not happening.
I think Memphis will just have won like a game too many or something. I feel like it could be a repeat of last year, right? Where Sacramento was about this close to getting. I think Sacramento has a real solid chance of finishing 9th, but I wouldn't see them finishing 8th. I think it would. I'd want to see them. I think people are discounting them a lot. I think, Will, you're 100% on the money having them below Portland. I had them below Portland as well. The only reason I didn't include them in that first group is because I have too much respect for Damian Lillard. But
yeah,
I think that the Kings are. I think all three of us can agree. Like, national media wise, they aren't being discussed enough as a team that could make the playoffs, even though the odds are slim.
Well, that's not surprise. That's no surprise. I mean, the NBA's had it out for the Kings for a long time, so there's no surprise.
I think the Kings have had it out for the Kings for a long time.
Vivek working against his own team.
Yeah, that's fair.
Vivek and
so let's
Blondie.
move to the. Let's go ahead and move along to the team that you hear the most about when you hear the race for 8. They are currently the 10th seed. They are sitting at 28-36. It's the New Orleans Pelicans. So, Will, I'll start with you. What % chance did you give them to make the 8th seed?
I think they have probably around a 25% chance, maybe 30, depending on how the Trailblazers and Kings play. But I think especially as we're talking about how the Kings kind of get slanted in the national media, I think you got to mention probably that most of that's due to the talk about the Pelicans possibly making the seed. So I don't know. It's it's up in the air, and I think a bunch of the national media kind of gets heightened because of the Zion factor. And I think the NBA would love to see him creep into that 8 seed, but still, I think the Grizzlies have a pretty good hold on it, at least for right now. And so, you know, I don't hate Zion, but I just don't. I can't see him pulling it out this year, especially this. You know, hey, being a rookie though, you know, if he's able to do it, it'd be pretty impressive. So,
yeah. Look, guys. The Pelicans. They're the only reason they didn't do a 16-team tournament. The only reason. They had to get Zion in there. They had to get the Pelicans in there. The only reason. It's a 22-team thing. That's it. I had them at 16.
Have you guys seen their schedule?
They're probably pretty easy.
You guys seen their schedule?
Probably very easy.
They had the easiest schedule at the end of the season. And then Zach, I'll throw to you when I'm done reading the schedule. I want you to react to this. So their first game is against the Jazz, and you would think, okay, the Jazz are tough, but they're missing Bogdanovich. Okay, so that makes the game a lot easier. Their next game is against New Orleans, their next game is against Memphis. Then they're playing the Wizards. I guess I'm going out of order. Sorry. They play the Clippers, the Kings, the Spurs, the Kings again, and the Magic.
Yeah, so they're going to lose to the Clippers. I want to say they'll lose to the Grizzlies.
Probably lose the...
And then who's the other team you said?
So
the Kings twice.
You think they'll lose to the Wizards?
Lose one of those? No, fuck no. They'll probably win that game by 30. They might lose to the Kings one of those times. But, like, come on. They're going to beat the Magic. They're going to slaughter the Wizards. I think you said Spurs. They're going to beat the Spurs. Like I said, they're the only reason there's not a regular 16-team tournament. The only reason. As if the ratings weren't going to be high enough. They had to get them higher. Like, I'm with you, Will. I like Zion, too. I like him a lot. But, God, they just can't have the fucking Memphis Grizzlies in the 8 seed. They just can't stand it. They have to get Zion in there. It's bullshit.
Yeah. I gave the Pelicans about a 40% chance to make the 8 seed just because their schedule is that bad.
Mm-hmm.
But... And, okay, from my understanding, you can force a play-in game if you're within, 4 games of the 8 seed, but you have to win twice while the 8 seed has to win once. So that obviously gives the huge advantage. They kind of made it favorable to the 8 seed in a sense, which I like. I mean, I think we can agree that if they're going to try that play-in thing, that's probably the most fair way to do the play-in thing. You have to earn your way to that 8 spot. But New Orleans isn't really that deep. They have about 7 guys that I trust. I mean, Dylan put him on his all-rookie team. I didn't. We disagreed a little bit there, but Jackson Hayes isn't really that good. Jackson Hayes is just kind of a body at this point. You know, they have JJ Redick's going to be playing a whole lot of minutes for them. I just can't think of, I know their roster, but they don't really have any backup big men that are worth anything. And it's their backup power forward is Brandon Ingram, and he's their starting small forward.
Right.
So
you just don't. This team isn't. You have to have 8 guys in the playoffs.
They have 7.
Yeah.
They have 7. And so I just think I think you guys are right on the money. This whole thing is a huge ploy to get New Orleans a whole lot of airtime. But at the same time, I think New Orleans definitely earned their way, right? They were good in the regular season.
Yeah.
But I think the Grizzlies are far enough ahead of both them and the Trailblazers where it's you should have just done 16, 1 through 16, in both conferences. But I think that's good enough on New Orleans because I don't really want to spend a whole 8 seed isn't really where I'm concerned. I mean, 8 seed's going to be fun in the West. But the next team for the 8 seed, I think we can be quick on this team because it sounds like we're all in agreement here. It's the Portland Trailblazers. They are currently the 9th seed with a record also of 29-37. So, Will, I'll start with you. You said you had them below the Kings, so you don't think they have a chance of making the 8 seed.
Who, the Grizzlies?
Blazers.
No, the Trailblazers.
The Blazers? Yeah, I don't know, especially going before the season. when they made a couple moves in free agency, I thought, especially as we were doing a lot of preseason NBA stuff, the Blazers might be able to get something rolling, especially with Hassan Whiteside. But, and then
come on.
Carmelo. Huh?
Come on. Hassan Whiteside?
What?
Hassan Whiteside will.
He wasn't bad with the Heat.
Stop. He wasn't bad in contract years. Come on now, Will.
I'm just saying, I thought that could have been a nice move. And then Carmelo was kind of, the legacy pickup. And you're right. I have the Kings ahead of them, so I don't want to hear that slander. Because at this point, I've come to my senses. Okay, but and like I kind of said before, D. Lillard for a reason. The man, give him 8 games and give him motivation, he could do whatever. And so, would I be surprised for a run? No, but we said before, Memphis has got a little bit of a gap between them already, and I think that's going to be enough to just sustain them for the play-in games at least.
Yeah, Memphis has a 3.5 game lead. Exactly the reason I don't believe in the Trailblazers. Hassan Whiteside and Carmelo Anthony. 2 known cancers. So I'm not sold on Dame trying to carry himself. I love Dame. He's a top 10 player. He's probably the second best point guard in the league. I don't think he can do it with those guys. They just don't. And they lost Ariza, who was kind of big for them.
Mm-hmm.
I know Alex isn't a big McCollum guy. You're not a big McCollum guy, which I understand. But I just don't see it. I don't see them. I would say the Pelicans have a better chance of catching the Grizzlies than the Trailblazers do.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see it.
Yeah, I think Ariza's the biggest loss for them. Ariza, he came in and the difference was just palpable. The team was just so much better once Ariza started playing. And the fact that he's not playing in Orlando, they might as well they're going to lose every single game. They could try their best, but they suck on defense. Ariza was literally the piece holding their defense together. Like we said, they're starting Whiteside. I think Nurkic, there's a chance Nurkic comes back. But even then, he hasn't played all season. The team is all brand new. You go from playing Al-Farouq Amino on the power forward to Carmelo. That's a huge drop-off. And it's I just don't think the Blazers have a chance.
Mm-mm.
No.
And I don't think we need to talk much more about the Blazers. They had a nice season. Really good job to bounce back to the 10 seed after the really rocky start they had. But not a CJ McCollum guy. I just don't think he's I haven't expounded on this on the podcast before. I think CJ McCollum is just Lou Williams with better PR. I think that he's a good scorer, but I don't really trust him in the playoffs, and I know no one else does either. You can't win a championship with him as your best player, and you probably can't win one with him as your second best player either. He's your third best guy.
He can't be your second best guy. You just can't.
He's a good basketball player. He just isn't that good. He's not as good as people make him out to be. A lot of casual people like CJ McCollum because he does the flashy dribble between his legs, but he doesn't actually he's too small. If he played like Lou Williams, off the bench, he would be a superstar in that role. He'd be the best 6th man in the league by far. But he's starting, and he needs to start for them. But I think we can put Portland to bed. Sorry, Portland, you're not making this playoffs, according to the three best NBA experts in the world, according to Alex Burr. So, moving on to the Memphis Grizzlies. Will, I'll start with you. Percent chance that they make the 8th seed. They are currently the 8th seed at 32 and 33.
Mm-hmm. I had them at about 60, 65. Again, barring some incredible comeback by any of the teams we previously mentioned. Like Zach said, they got a 3.5, 4-game lead. It's just going to be – they're going to have a miraculous drop-off. Just a stunning collapse, essentially, to lose the 8th seed. Now, getting to the 8th seed is just going to be the battle for them, and then they're going to have to turn right back up and probably have a tough series against one of the Los Angeles teams, more likely the Lakers, right? So, like we've said, 8 seed. Going to be nice to get in the playoffs this year, but they're going to have to turn around and keep going if they want to do anything. So,
yeah, I think it's 100% chance for the Grizzlies. 100% chance. I love John Morant.
You want to lock it in?
Yeah, I'm locking it in. You can.
It's locked.
I'll bet my ass that the Grizzlies make the playoffs. I don't see John Morant letting them slide out. I just don't see it. I 100% chance.
Wow. Will, are you ready to back up Zach's prediction of locking it in? I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I want to lock it in 100% because, like you mentioned, the Pelicans schedule is kind of favorable, right? And so maybe if they were to knock out the Grizzlies and then take out, obviously they're going to beat the Wizards, but if they were able to beat the Kings both the times, they could stun them. And the NBA has set it up pretty nice to where it's all right. It's going to be either Ja or kind of Zion in that 1 versus 8 matchup, probably. But as for a lock-in, I wouldn't say. I give them a 2/3. Like I said, 60%. 2 out of 3 times they get it. But I wouldn't fully lock it in at this point, personally. That's just me.
No, I'm locking it in. I want nothing more than to see the Pelicans fall short, just so the NBA can go, fuck, it didn't work. But Grizzlies all the way.
And so I had them at a 55% chance. I'm surprised it was less than you guys. I love that. I gave a lot of Grizzlies thoughts on my all rookie pod that I did with Dylan Hughes last Friday. And so on Friday the 23rd. So if you want to listen to those Grizzly thoughts, you can go ahead. But I'm just going to say I love the Grizzlies. But like Will brought up, the New Orleans schedule is stacked. But I think that moves us off 8th seed. And so I'm going in order of record. And if they have the same record, then I'm going by seed. And so the first team we're actually going to be talking about is a pretty popular team, the Philadelphia 76ers. Will, what percent chance did you give them of winning the championship?
I don't hate Philly, and the reason that this percentage is pretty low is just due to the fact that I think there's a group of 3-4 teams that just take up a bunch of the percentage chance of that's going to win it just due to their talent. But I give them a 4%, 5% around that area. I think it's going to be tough. The issue with them is are they going to be able to kind of put it all together against some of the better teams? Last year against the Raptors and Kawhi, it was kind of unfortunate. And so you got to wonder, are they going to have a chip on their shoulder a bit? But I think there's a lot of space in the Eastern Conference to work around, especially seeing if the Bucks, and I'll say my Bucks slander for later, seeing how the Bucks do, especially starting out off of this break. But I gave them a 5% to win the finals, just because I think a team from the West is going to have a good chance. But I mean, I'd probably, to make it out of the Eastern Conference alone, I'd give them about a 25 to 30%. To be honest. So wow. I think they have a better chance to make it out of the East than damn near any other team not named the Bucks. So I like the Sixers. I like the Sixers. I don't necessarily trust the Celtics coming in to the playoffs, and the Sixers have been kind of together for a little bit longer, have a little bit more chemistry. I don't love them, but I mean, when I'm looking, I just, the last couple of years, I'm an emotional take guy. I'm a big emotional. And whenever I see the Celtics in the playoffs, I feel like they fall flat to an extent. But Zach, what do you think?
Did you just say the Sixers have chemistry? Did you say that?
Not chemistry to an extent, but I mean, they've been together. They've been together in these playoff tough situations. Not necessarily chemistry, but an understanding is where I'd leave it. At an understanding.
Oh, William. Oh, I had the Sixers at 13th on my list. 13th. They haven't done it. Look, Ben Simmons is. Sorry, Caleb. Ben Simmons. Total non-factor without the ball. A total non-factor. They're just going to have to feed Embiid. Because these teams are figuring out more and more, hey, get the ball out of Simmons' hands. He's nothing. He's nothing. You don't even have to guard him on 3-pointers or even mid-range. There's no point. Just feed it to Embiid. I mean, they don't have a bench. The coach has proven he has no idea what he's doing in the playoffs. I don't see the Sixers doing anything.
So I gave the Sixers a 1% chance to win the championship, and here's why. They're the most athletic team in the league. Anything can happen when you have a bunch of athletes on the floor. Anything. We saw that last year in the Eastern Conference Finals or Eastern Conference semifinals against the Raptors. That team really had no business making it to Game 7 against the Raptors last year, but they did it because they have athletes. I think when push comes to shove, they'll either be a really great defensive team, or I think the more likely scenario is that we'll see them go back to their usual road struggles. They're like one of the worst road teams in the NBA this season. You just look at their road record. It's 10-24.
Yeah, I was going to bring that
14 and 19. The 76ers have a worse road record than the Nets.
Oh my god.
They have a worse road record than the Trailblazers. The Trailblazers are 11-23 and they're worse on the road. They have a worse road record than the Timberwolves.
Hey, I got a bombshell right here. I have a bombshell right here.
Let me hear it.
The Knicks have won as many road games as the Sixers.
Oh!
10. 10. Fire Brett Brown now. Just what are you waiting for? Fire his ass. Elton Brand can come down and do it himself. Terrible.
Oh my God. They're so bad. 29-2 at home versus 10-24 on the road. That's just
unforgivable.
Oh my God. I don't know. So I'm curious, Will, do you think that based on everything we just said, how do you feel like do you think these games will be like road games? Do you think these games will do you think everyone will just get used to it and they'll all kind of be like home games? How do you feel about that?
Well, that's a good question. I was just thinking because, you guys were bringing up the road games stat, and I guess, you got to take that into account. But, it's going to be unlike – it's not going to be a home game. Obviously it's neutral, so it's going to be interesting. There's not one stat that I think you could look at. Obviously, road games might be the best one, but there's nothing that you could really look at and say – all right, this is going to be the game changer for this situation, because I think you're going into a situation, like we mentioned, that's unlike any other. And so how are these teams going to react to having to create their own momentum, almost in a sense, create a lot of that stuff within? And I think you're right. That's where kind of the road game stat comes, but it's still going to be pretty exciting, I guess, me personally. Like, how are these players going to react? Because it's going to be kind of like an exhibition, and you're going to have to bring that playoff mentality, that playoff motivation without having thousands, tens of thousands fans backing you up in the stadium. So I think that's going to be an interesting angle to kind of look at, to see what teams are able to react better, what teams are able to kind of motivate themselves to an extent.
Yeah, I don't want to say they're going to feel like scrimmages, but
yeah,
it very well might, because it's not a home game, it's not a road game. Hard to say what it really is. I mean, empty arena. The only people there are the announcers and your coaches, so it's going to be interesting to see which teams do well and which ones don't, especially the higher echelon teams. Like, let's just say the Celtics, for example. Like, if the Celtics go 4-4, it's hard to say what to blame that on. So, I really think it's going to be like a scrimmage. Obviously, a lot more riding on it than a scrimmage, but you know what I'm saying,
right?
Yeah. And so it's going to be like these guys are going to be, I don't know, in the first quarter, in the first half, and you're like, it's going to be weird watching them trying to kind of like remotivate themselves almost, because you wonder what teams kind of use the momentum best. And so I'm just going to call it the Lakers. I think the Lakers kind of are one of the better teams at riding the momentum due to their high pace play style. The Rockets to an extent. I think, and so you're gonna see like what happens when you don't have as much as that going on. Like, are these teams gonna kind of fall flat, start missing some of their shots, or are they gonna be able to extend it even further and just get super, super hot? And so I don't know. I'm gonna be interested to see what it's like, but I'm hoping there's a good chance, like you said, especially in the beginning, the playing games, that most of them are kind of like, I don't know, summer league games to an extent, and you're like,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And not having the crowd is going to be weird, because I'll just say the Pacers, because I watch them every night. The Pacers feed off the crowd a lot. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do, especially if they go on like a little run or something during the game. You know, Victor Oladipo, he feeds off the crowd more than probably any Pacers player I've watched. So it's gonna be weird. It's gonna be a lot like when the UFC came back, and you know it was an empty arena. All the fighters could hear were themselves and their corners and like Joe Rogan and those guys. So it's gonna be weird. I don't know. Not really sure what to expect.
I don't think anyone can, and I think you guys. I don't think I really have anything to add to that point, what you guys said. I think you guys hit the nail perfectly on the head. It's really going to be interesting to watch just like the games and how they unfold. I think Will's point about momentum is huge. Like, and Zach's point too. It's like you just watch games, right? Like if you just watch any game on League Pass or, you know, any other way you want to watch it, but you just watch any games and you're like, okay, the home team is down 10 at halftime, and then they start creeping back in, and then by the time they're back down to 2, the crowd is roaring, and they rush out to like an 8-point lead after that. And like you see that all the time in basketball games. Basketball is such like a game of momentum and emotion and feel, and that's going to be such like a interesting dichotomy to watch for when they come back, because you don't know how they're going to react. These guys are just human, and these guys probably haven't played in this empty of gyms since they were like little kids.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying about the scrimmage thing. Like, it's legitimately going to feel like a scrimmage. You're just going to be wearing your game jerseys. It's going to be weird as fuck. I don't know. It's going to be a very weird viewing experience, because, like, what do you remember most about the Kawhi shot last year? The crowd going crazy. Like, what if we get a moment like that again, and it's just silence? It's just Marv Albert yelling into nothingness. Like
the players don't even celebrate. They just, all right, game 2 over with, high five.
They need to mic up certain
Or you go in the other,
like they need to
go in
mic
the other
up.
direction with Go ahead, Zach.
I was just gonna say they need to mic up certain players. Like I'd love to hear Enes Kanter mic'd up just talking shit.
Oh God.
You got a good opportunity for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's definitely will be interesting, but I think now's a good time to move on to our next team, a team that Zach actually mentioned during the last team. It's the Indiana Pacers. They are 39-26. I don't think we need to spend a whole lot of time on the Pacers. I think we can all agree, but I'll start with Zach. Where did you have them ranked on your board?
They cracked the top 10 for me. I had them 10th. And then,
wow.
Yeah. Mostly due to the fact they're in the East, and I think there's a slight chance they could take the Heat spot at number 4, the 4th seed. And it looks like they're going to play the Heat either way, unless the Sixers do something, but I don't see that happening. I thought Victor was playing really well before the season ended. It's well documented. I'm not a Miles Turner guy, but he was playing pretty good. He was playing pretty good on both sides. And, Sabonis was still playing like an all-star. Brogdon got COVID, so I don't think he's going to be participating. But I had him 10th. I'm a little biased, as we all know, but I had my guys 10th.
I had him.
Well,
I had
I'm
him
curious.
I had him just under the 76ers with a 2% chance. But I think there's something kind of going off our last point a bit. I think there's something to the Pacers being less star oriented, and so that would make them kind of a better chance to go either way. So either they could get super super hot, being a team without all the extra stuff, and them not needing kind of that guy to get them going. So maybe they could get themselves going internally a bit more. And I think you're going to be able to see that, especially a little bit more. I think the teams at the top, due to the lack of audience, are going to be kind of brought down to an extent, just because they can't get that hot. And bringing teams like the Pacers with just like good core basketball guys, kind of a good fit, and it might give them a chance to come a bit closer. And so I don't know. I think I give them a 2% chance, but I think it's going to be interesting to watch. And like we've kind of already talked about to at length, no one really knows. I think this year more than others, miracles could happen in Disneyland.
Oh, stop.
I'm sorry.
Stop it. Stop. I got a quick question for both of you. Like, a lot of people look at the 99 season, which was only 50 games, as like an asterisk season. Like, they don't count it for the Spurs. Do you think that's going to happen here?
Well, I'll let you start.
I think this one is going to definitely have an asterisk, kind of like they tried to put on, like you said, the 99, and then I go to the lockout season as well. But that's the thing, whenever that was in like 2012 or 13.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's 7 years later, and maybe we put an asterisk on it at the time, right? But no one really thinks of the lockout season as an asterisk anymore to an extent, and so this one is going to have more of a case, I'd say, to maybe have a permanent asterisk, but maybe, I don't know, I think it's going to be one of those cases like in 20 years, we're going to see who has the title and just kind of forget about how they got it, What do you think, AB?
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting, right? I don't think there will be an asterisk, because if they finish the season somehow, I think that whoever comes out on top, they deserve recognition, right? Like, this unforeseen circumstances, you're stuck in Orlando. I mean, nobody wants to be stuck in Orlando for 3 months. I mean, Zach, we shat on Cleveland a lot in your Dark Knight pods, but I mean, Orlando, not much better than Cleveland. I wouldn't want to be stuck in Orlando for 3 months.
They can't even go.
Hell, I wouldn't want to be stuck in Orlando.
They can't even go enjoy Disney World.
No.
Fuck.
Robin, the Lopez twins are going to have the time out of hell, because they're not going to be able to enjoy themselves in the park. But I think it's like, it just is going to be so taxing on their bodies, being stuck in the same place, not being able to like have the camaraderie of being able to go out and enjoy themselves. I don't think there will be an asterisk, but I think a lot of people are going to put an asterisk, especially if one of the top 3 teams don't win. I think that's just going to be what happens, unfortunately, just because people are going to be like, oh, this doesn't count. The season was messed up. A bunch of guys didn't play. But at the same time, these guys are all risking themselves. Like, these guys are putting themselves in a considerable amount of injury risk coming back after this amount of months and trying to play in a playoff scenario. I just think that they don't deserve an asterisk, but I think people will put one by them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't think there should be an asterisk. I really don't. I mean, these guys had the same amount of time to prepare as everybody else did. I think it's just stupid. Stupid to put an asterisk. I mean, you were playing a whole season. It's not like there was a lockout or anything. I think it'd be stupid to put an asterisk.
And Will brought up the lockout season. They've played about the same amount of games. Actually, they've played, so you see some 64s here. You see some teams have played 66 games, which is how many they played in 2012. So it's not like they didn't play games. They played like 3/4 of the season. Which is why I thought they should have just went 1 through 8 for both conferences.
Yeah.
And it just is like, I don't think there should be an asterisk, but I think people are just going to be like, oh, it doesn't count. My guy, they're going to be like, my guy didn't win, so therefore it doesn't count. That's how I view it. But I gave the Pacers a 0% chance. I'm a lot lower on them than you guys are. I think their team won't really benefit from the layoff. I think that their team really was a good chemistry team. I think that they, had a really good defensive chemistry, right? Like they were just starting to figure out their defense with Sabonis and Turner. And in the playoffs, they're going to exploit that more easily anyway. So I think that if they didn't win in the first round, they were out in the second round. I don't think that they were – I wouldn't have given them a chance to make the conference finals, especially given where they were. Now, if they played – I just don't think they're better than Toronto, Boston, or Philly. Or not Philly. They're better than Philly. I don't think they're better than Toronto, Boston, or Milwaukee. I just think those 3 teams are too good for Indiana. I think they could beat Miami. I think there's a really good chance they could beat Miami, and we'll talk about Miami in a little bit. But I just think that Indiana's probably the worst Eastern Conference team. I just like Philly, you could see them doing something crazy because they're that talented, but I think Indiana's below the level. But I think now's the time. I think we're going to hit a Western Conference team now. We're going to actually be hitting the Dallas Mavericks. So, Zach, I'm going to start with you. Where did you have the Mavericks on your list?
I had the Mavericks 12th. I wanted to put them, little spoiler, I had the Thunder 11th. I wanted to put the Mavericks above the Thunder, but I didn't. I just like the way the Thunder have been playing all year. But Mavericks, Luka's playing at MVP level. I think if it wasn't for LeBron and Giannis, he probably would be the MVP. I love their team. I love Rick Carlisle. The Mavericks are probably default my second favorite team because I got family in Dallas, so and they're big Mavericks fans, so the default my second favorite team. But Luka is just a monster, and I love the way that team has been playing. They're going to be tough for a lot of years to come. I had him 12th. I don't know. Let me see who they're slated to play if it started right now. So they would play the Clippers, which I think that'd be fun. Might be a five-game series, but we all know they're not going to win that. So I had him 12th. I'm going to keep him at 12. They're going to lose in the first round, but they're coming. They're definitely coming.
Yeah, I agree. I had them at like a 2 to 3 as well. I think a lot of that is due to the difficulty of the Western Conference, though, especially kind of like we've talked about. I like their core, like you said, maybe in a couple years or definitely in the upcoming years, they're going to be something that we have to worry about as just NBA fans in general, being contenders definitely more often. But I think this year might be a little bit too early, so kind of maybe figuring it out, maybe get another piece in the off season, working it. I mean, not that they definitely need. I mean, I think that they could benefit from some. But, again, like you said, Luka's a beast. Once KP kind of gets it all figured out there, I think they'd be something to worry about in the Western Conference. But as for this year, I don't give them much of a chance just because I think other teams kind of have it figured out a bit more to an extent. But what do you think, AB?
I'm glad the Mavs are back.
Me too. I think the Mavericks are easily the worst. I mean, of the Western Conference teams we're going to discuss in this section, they're easily the worst of the playoff teams. They are not making it out of the first round, like you guys said. They're kind of a cute story. I take that back. They're not a cute story because did you guys know that this year, according to offensive efficiency, they've had the best offense of all time?
Damn.
I guess I think it's offensive rating. They've had the best offensive rating of all time. They're scoring like 116.7 points per 100 possessions. That's insane.
Yeah.
That's
God.
And that's it. Like that stat adjusts for pace. So that's just their team is just really ridiculously constructed. But who do they have that can guard Kawhi?
No.
Who do they have that can guard Chris Paul? You know what I mean? Like, and there's no chance they would play the Thunder, but they just don't have anyone. Like, their defense is awful. Their defense sucks. Like,
it's bad.
Their best defender is Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, and they just signed him on a buyout like a couple weeks before the season ended.
Stop right there, sir. Stop right there. Oh, no.
I mean, Porzingis is a really good rim protector, but at the same time, they're not going to win anything until he finally just sucks it up and plays center. You know, that's just going to be their fate. They can't really win anything if he's playing power forward. That's really just how it is. So I give them a 0% chance to win the championship because they are not making it out of the first round. But I think that takes us off of the Mavericks and onto one of Zach's other favorite Texas teams, the Houston Rockets. His guy, James Harden. So Zach, I'll start with you. Where did you have them on your list? This is the team I'm most curious to talk about. This is probably the team on this whole list that I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts about.
Yeah, so I had the Rockets 8th on my list. And I think if anybody's going to benefit from this layoff, it's going to be the Rockets. Because if anybody needed a break, it was James Harden and Russell Westbrook. Because those guys were carrying that team. I shit on the Clint Capella trade and the Linsanity pod a couple weeks ago, and I stand by that. Just a dumbass trade. Still don't get it. I never will get it. But those guys need it. Westbrook and Harden needed a break. And I'm not going to get into James Harden. I'm not going to get into it, the defense for him. But he's clearly a guy you can... he's a guy you can get to the finals with. I think we could say that because he's a guy you can get to the finals with. And Westbrook's a great second option. I have them 8th. I have them behind. I had them behind the Jazz. I wanted to put them ahead of the Jazz, but I didn't. I think if they played in a series, though, the Rockets would probably win. Do not be surprised. Do not be shocked if the Rockets get to the conference finals, especially with this layoff we had. Do not be shocked.
Yeah, I like the Rockets. I gave them a 7% chance. I don't hate the trade as much. There was a game that they played the Lakers like literally right after the trade, and I thought that at its ceiling, I think it could work. I think spreading the floor a little bit, like you said, taking some of the pressure off of Westbrook and Harden. And I remember watching them play the Lakers, and I think they ended up beating them at LA. And so I think in theory it works, but are they going to be able to kind of bring it out? And then in a 7-game series, are they going to be able to continue kind of extend it through a 7-game series, not only against like the Lakers, but the Clippers. So I think they could find some success making it all the way to the finals. That'd be tough, especially in the West, but I like them. I like them more than the Nuggets. I got them higher than the Nuggets to make it to the finals, but I don't see them make it there. And I think that's, like I mentioned, that's due to some of the talent from like the top tier teams.
I have them as a better chance. I'm higher on them than you guys are, apparently. I have them higher than the Jazz and the Nuggets. I think that they're going to make it. I think that they have the best chance that's not the top two in the West. I think they have the best chance out of those two. But I think that it's like you got their top two guys are so much better than the Jazz and Nuggets top two guys. Like the talent deficit to me just is like ridiculously. Now, obviously, I think they match up well with the Jazz. The Nuggets, I mean, tell me you guys wouldn't want to see PJ Tucker try to guard Jokic for 7 games.
Be entertaining.
He's got COVID. Jokic.
He's gonna recover. He'll play.
He'll be back.
I say that, but then Rudy Gobert still hasn't developed a sense of smell. Who knows? But I just think that the Rockets, I gave them about a 4% chance to win it all. I think that they had the best shot outside of the top three, or not the best shot, but the best shot outside of the top three in both conferences, I'll say. Like at the lower seeds, they definitely have the best chance because they're the most talented. That team is going to be really scary. I mean, it's kind of weird, right? It's kind of like a pickup team, those guys. You could just stick them on a court anywhere and they'd be successful. You don't have to run a whole lot of plays. You're not having to learn a whole playbook. Just roll the ball out there. James Harden pick and roll. They trap him, give the ball to Westbrook, 4-on-3. I mean, that might take them either really far. I see two ranges of possibilities for them, and just these two. This is the same for the Sixers, by the way. I actually see them either losing in the second round, because I think they're going to win in the first round, no matter who they play, or winning the finals. I think that that's just going to be the way it goes. I think that they'll get hot. I think Harden, who do you trust on the Lakers or the Clippers to guard James Harden? Paul George?
No.
Kawhi? Kawhi would probably be the only guy.
Yeah.
But even then, we haven't seen a whole season of Kawhi at the level that he's been playing at defensively, You don't know if he can keep it up. There's no one on the Lakers that could guard James. Now, obviously, you don't trust PJ Tucker to guard Anthony Davis either. The game you mentioned, Will, was kind of an outlier. But I think the Rockets have a chance to do something either. I think we're going to remember this Rockets season based on how it goes in Orlando. I think, there might be a James Harden stripper scandal. He might be trying to sneak strippers into the bubble. Always a distinct possibility with him.
Every man has his vices.
Russell Westbrook. Listen,
like you said about Anthony Davis. The Capella trade. The perfect guy to defend Anthony Davis. And you traded him to a team who's not even there. I don't get it. But continue with your scandals.
I'm just saying, you could see a bunch of things happening, right? I'm saying the scandal, that was a joke, obviously, but you could see it happening. You tell me you guys can't see that happening.
Anything with the Rockets is possible.
Anything with James Harden and strippers is possible. That man's a strip club legend.
Grainy footage.
He has his jersey. I'm pretty sure he has his jersey retired in one of the Houston strip clubs.
James Harden and strip clubs are not a good combination. In Florida, I don't know about on the Disneyland premises, but I wouldn't be surprised for James and maybe Russell to take a day trip down to Miami.
Hey, no sales tax in Florida. Bigger incentive to go to the strip clubs. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, my God. We're going to move away from strip clubs because this is going down a road I do not want to go down. But I think that's it for the Rockets, unless you guys have anything else you want to say about the Rockets. But
yeah, I do. It's Mike D'Antoni's last year.
Let's hear it, Zach.
Mike D'Antoni.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. He's gone. And he's going to the Wizards. Go to the Wizards.
Lock it in?
Locking it in.
It's locked.
Grizzlies make the playoffs. D'Antoni goes to the Wizards. Lock it in.